Hi, my name is Samantha and welcome to today's video. Today is the final reveal of the curtains.
Stick around after the reveal to hear my thoughts and pros and cons about this project.
Check them out in this 18-foot beautiful living room. You can see how good the grommets turned out. They're just absolutely beautiful. And then here, if you remember the ties we made in video 3, I think it was, part 3. Now, they weren't good from the start on the bottom. I did have to go back through and re-hem them, but as you can see, they are all fixed now. They were bunching up quite a bit on the bottom, but now it looks all good. So I did have to seam rip and re-sew, but it's looking great. And as you can see, the thread color is perfect, matches. This was definitely a very large project, but I think it turned out super well. Let me know what you think in the comments down below.
Now that you've seen the reveal, let's talk details. Overall, this project was so much fun. It was great learning something new, but I do not think that I would make 18-foot curtains again, and I am not open to custom work, so please do not ask me. That being said, let's talk pros and cons. Pros, it was awesome to learn something new. I had never made curtains from scratch, so I watched a bunch of videos, figured out how I wanted to go about making them. If you want to watch how I made them, I have 3 parts linked down below where I'll show you how I went about making them. It was definitely a very large, overwhelming project because they were 18 feet. It wasn't difficult, it was just very large. So like if I were to do some regular size curtains, it would be no problem. I mean, just for myself, not custom work. I'm not open to custom work, do not message me. But that being said, so the amount of time that I put into it and the profit made from it was the same as doing a show. So that was very interesting. So it took me about a month from start to finish. Not every single day, but like from getting the fabric to giving it back to the customer, the final product, a month turnaround time, which is about the same amount of time of work, of prep work that I do for a show. Also, like at a show, you know, driving there, driving back, setting up, being there all day. The same amount of like labor and time went into a show as it did for these curtains, and I made about the same amount of money I would at a show. So that was very interesting. So like either I could like do one big item a month or do a show. I would rather do neither. I would rather be online and not have to go anywhere and be able to work on making more digital products for you guys. But also, having one big project versus like one show, I was able to make a lot more content. Like this is the 4th video that I've been able to make on this versus a show. I do one pro and con and sales review after the show, which you guys seem to really love. And then the last pro is that I had an amazing customer. She was so fantastic, so easy to work with along the whole way. Like I said, the hem on the bottom, I didn't do it right at the beginning, and so I had to go back and redo it. And she was so supportive, so helpful. I think it really helped that she was also a sewist, so she's familiar with like what you have to go through for each step. So it was a much better insight than someone who's like, doesn't that take like 2 seconds? So I am very grateful. I used to do bridal invitations at a previous job that I had, and I'm not a fan of custom work. I'm not a fan of working with customers because it can go south very quickly. That being said, let's talk about the cons. So the cons, this was a very stressful, weighing on my mind project for the entire duration of the project, trying to figure out how to do it. You know, I only had a limited amount of materials. The fabric was bought 5 years ago, so who knows if I screwed up, if the fabric would be able to be purchased again. I didn't want to have to piece at the bottom if I screwed up the length, so I made sure I cut plenty of fabric so that there would be excess. There ended up being the perfect amount when I went to go hem the bottom. The other con is that like it being such a large project, there was no way I could test to see if it was correct or not. I just had to give it to the customer and say, let me know if the hem's wrong. If it's wrong, I'll come back. One of them, it was cockeyed, and then the other one, it was like all bunched up and wasn't the right length. So both of them had to be redone. I hemmed them with them still hung up, which helped because then I was able to see the length. Because even though I measured it, you guys saw how many times I measured and was very careful at every single step. They still weren't right. They still weren't straight at the bottom. So that was really hard for me. Like, I really like want things to be perfect the first time and perfectionist. So it was very hard for me to have to like do it again. I thought about like, oh, I'll just give her the curtains, not hemmed, and then just with the assumption that I have to go back. But then I'm like, no, let me try and hem them and see how it goes. Bad idea. If I were to make curtains again for myself, then I would not hem them, hang them up, take a look, and then hem them. It's the same thing as a dress, so I don't know why I thought it could be any different. When you make a dress, or pants or anything, if you make clothing, you make it and then you put it on the dress form or you put it on the person and then you hem the bottom. You don't just blind hem it. So don't blind hem. That was a bad idea. Foresight, wouldn't do that again. The other thing, the con was like, I only had one shot. I had one roll of the fabric. If I screwed it up, or if it being so big, if I screwed up the length and had to be pieced together, it would be super noticeable. Because it wasn't like I was putting multiple different kinds of fabric together. There was the exterior and the lining, which needed to be a singular piece. So that was very like, I can't mess it up when I'm ironing. I can't mess it up when I'm sewing. I can't mess it up when I'm cutting. Like every step of the way, I needed to be super careful. Also, like I didn't want to stain it. So like I vacuumed like 50 times throughout the whole project. Like every time before I sat it on the floor, I vacuumed. You guys saw when I laid out my tables, I cleaned them twice, both times when I laid them out. So like I was just like hyper vigilant about if the fabric was going to get messed up. Because also if I stained it, how would it get washed? How would I get the stain out? It wasn't a dark colored fabric. It was, so there was like a very high priority on being very, very careful with the fabric that I had. And then the other thing is, like I said, like working with a person and working with one piece of fabric, at any point during the project, it could have just gone south. It did not. Like I said, the customer was absolutely wonderful, but I've just worked with too many customers to know that the customer is not always right. I'm sorry. If you think the customer is always right, I completely disagree with that. The customer is not always right, and people just don't treat other people kindly. So I'm not interested in doing custom work. I'm not interested in working with an individual. This was definitely the exception, not the rule. I'm glad I did it. It was an exciting project to do. It was a best case scenario. So I'm very, very grateful. Yeah, I don't know. If I were to ever open up to custom work, I can tell you 100%, I would never, ever work with brides. I would never do weddings. Weddings are a hard no. Absolutely not. If you've ever worked with a bride or you've ever worked with a wedding, please let me know what your opinion is in the comments down below, and your experiences. Because I know that is one of the most difficult groups of people. Second being funerals or like memorial things. Both of those are just way too high priority, high profile, one shot. Like I know there's some people who do like memorial type stuff where they'll take like the loved one's shirt or something and sew it into something else. I absolutely do not want to do that. If you screw up someone's dead grandfather's shirt, how are you ever going to fix that? You can't go to the store and go buy another one. No, thank you. Not interested. But let me know what your experiences have been in the comments down below and your opinion. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say, and let me know what you think of how the curtains turned out. I think that they turned out super great. It was so nice to get to see the final product. I can't believe that I did accomplish it. It's definitely like something that I can like pat myself on the back. You know, I'm so proud that I finished it, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have been able to finish it. But like I said, no custom work on the table at all. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.